Okay, so I think this is interesting. Every year the Niners have these injuries. Every year they're the most injured team in the league, and someone eventually will say, well, what about that strength and conditioning coach? What about that training staff? And it's hard to say that the Niners should fire a trainer like it's his fault. Like, we even know we're not there. And it's so I don't want to like casually call for someone's job. I just want people to know who this guy is. You'd think that a team like the Niners, that's consistently the most injured team in the league, would be going through their trainers. Not because it's the trainer's fault, but you gotta fire someone. You gotta try something new. So the trainer's like the obvious guy. But Dustin Perry has actually been on the 49er staff since 2017. He wasn't initially the head strength and conditioning coach, but now he is. And if you don't know this, it's probably worth pointing out. Dustin Perry's, let me get this right. Dustin Perry's first cousin is Matt LaFleur's wife. So there's a little bit of nepotism there, as Mr. Nepotism here. Maybe it's harder to fire someone who is related to the wife of one of your best friends. I'm just saying, maybe the 49ers should go out and get a new trainer who has no familial ties to anyone in the organization. It's a thought. It may not fix it, but it couldn't hurt.
You know, we've been talking about this a lot through the years. Okay. I think there's really only one personnel. There's really three things I think you can do, but there's only one personnel thing you can do, which is just make sure that you draft players that played all the time in college. Like, guys who are out hurt, I think, are more likely to be out hurt. So don't draft guys who didn't play. Don't draft guys who played a game. Draft guys who played all the time and seemingly loved to play. That was one of my complaints about Mikael Williams, is they drafted a guy who only played like a third of the snaps. So draft somebody who likes to play and does play, and draft somebody who didn't have injuries in his college career. That's one. Two, you could change out your strength and conditioning coach. Three, you could look at your practices. The 49ers believe in an old school line of thinking, which is that you have to build up calluses to play football. And they believe in that. Sean McVay, in their same division, doesn't believe in that. He believes the opposite of that, which is you should never put any of your players on the field in anything but meaning in games that mean something. And so McVay's willing to trade like rust in week one for getting all the players out there. Shanahan wants to build those calluses. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the answer is. I mean, on one hand, I do think that you have to build some calluses to play football, but then I also think you're a damn fool if you risk putting your players in harm's way. I mean, Shanahan was asked this week by Matt Barrows, is the MetLife treacherous turf going to impact, your decision of whether or not to bring back Brock Purdy? He's like, absolutely not. No. Absolutely not. So it's like, well, why? That's the worst turf in the league. And isn't he your franchise quarterback? But it's like this kind of, I don't want to say it's macho. It's kind of like we're doing what we're doing. Injuries be damned. It's just part of it. And we're not going to be the part of some wussification of the NFL where we don't do this or that. We're old school. And Shanahan's a second generation guy. I'm sure he does exactly what his pops did. But I think as time goes on, Grant, I would rather them not play and start off the season. It's a long year. Start the year rusty if you got to, but make sure your money is on the field for when it matters. I mean, go back to Walsh. I can't remember ever the Niners getting into a deep playoff run in the 80s where they ever didn't have Joe or Roger or Jerry or Taylor, or they had them all. How did they have them all every year? It feels like a different life ago.
Prize Picks will give you $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. Win or lose, you'll get $50 for playing. Use promo code COHN, COHN, and download the app now. They always say it's a copycat league. And any team, if they have an issue that persists for years, the solution is obvious. If you can't stop the run, you get a new defensive coordinator who has a track record of defending the run, or a new D-line coach. It's same thing here. If you have a track record of having a ton of injuries every year, you get a new trainer from a team that hasn't had that issue and hope that they know something that you don't, that there's something in their culture that they can bring to you. So simple as that. I mean, if this is an issue every year, sorry, Dustin, it may or may not be your fault, but you got to go. And we're going to bring in a trainer from the Rams or some team that really hasn't had a lot of issues with injuries the last few years. And we're going to hope that that is the variable that needs to change. And if not, we'll figure it out. But that's what you do in football. It's a copycat league. Just go get someone from an organization that doesn't have this problem. That's what I would do.
Or maybe look internally at changing some of your practices as far as practice. I mean, the Niners are kind of puff out their chest when they talk about how physical their practices are. Well, maybe it's too physical. Maybe you're pounding on your guys a little bit too much. I mean, I'm not saying that I have the answers. I'm just asking the questions because how many freaking years in a row can you lose 25% of your roster to injury or a higher percentage than the rest of the league and not do something about it? Eventually you got to adjust, right?
Joseph Ernberg says, if/when we lose to the Giants, is it fire sale time? CMC, Trent Williams. Yeah, sure. I'm not saying they won't lose to the Giants, but I don't see the Niners trading Trent Williams.
Who's basically has given up 24 pressures in 8 games, and I think 23 pressures was the most he's ever given up in a season. So to say that Trent has regressed, I think also is a fact. But yeah, the Niners aren't trade. They're not going to abandon ship and start trading guys away. They're just not. And I don't necessarily think they should, but I definitely don't think they will.
Today proves that. Marks the Boss 3 says another jacket. Yellow jacket. I don't know what you mean. Come on Friday says pistol, 2 running back, 2 tight end, 1 wide receiver set. Best weapons on the field. Tonjes?
He's got talent.
When they took away Tonjes and Bourne's targets and gave them to Jawan Jennings, that was catastrophic.
Yeah, by the way, when has it ever worked out when the Niners have I mean, if you like when I asked Shanahan, why didn't Debo get the ball more in the first Super Bowl against Kansas City? He's like, that's not how it works. So that's not how it works when you can't get the ball to a guy who was MVP at halftime, but then you can get the ball to JJ. It's like there's no doubt they were force feeding JJ to try to make him happy, and yet Bourne was producing for them. So I kind of feel like there's some weird vibes going on around their wide receivers right now.
DeBig25 says whoever is evaluating the draft talent needs to be on the hot seat. Wanted Peters to get full GM position and move Lynch to another position. That's an interesting point.